Okay, let me just do a quick audio check. It looks like the music is working good, so I just want to make sure the audio is okay. So just let me know in the comments. Thanks. Okay, let's do one more audio check just to make sure that's working okay. Audio test 1, 2, 3. Let me know in the comments area, please, if the audio is okay. Okay, looks like the audio is good. We'll get started here in just a little bit. All right, welcome, happy traders, to Stock Analysis Friday. Today, of course, is June 9th, 2023. Great to have you here. All right, so I'm going to go through some administrational items I have to go through here. And while I'm doing that, go ahead and type in stocks in caps, please, of some things we can look at today, okay? And you can do that right in the comments area. And then after I finish the administrational items, we'll go through those. So hope everybody's doing good out there. Let's get going. Okay, first thing I got to cover, of course, are the risks involved in trading. Without those risks, of course, like I always say, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. But we do want you to be aware that in the markets, whether you're trading or investing, we work in a realm of probabilities. Nothing is really certain. So you always have to take that into account. So there can be no guarantees. You can do everything right, and the investment or the trade could still fail. And the idea is you want to get out when it does, and get out with a small loss. So we can teach you how to do that at traderscoach.com. It's all under the realm of risk control and money management for active traders and investors. Also, too, make sure you check with your financial advisor before actually implementing or taking any of the trades we may recommend here today, because they know your personal situation. We do not. And it's really important to check with them to make sure trades are okay for you. And then also, too, just remember that you want to always be using risk capital. This is money you can afford to risk, because past performance does not guarantee future performance. And again, we deal in a realm of probabilities, not certainties in the markets. We can help you with a lot of the aspects of trading and investing. I've got a lot of books available on Amazon. My new book called The Art of Trading from Wiley Publishers is coming out probably later this year, I think, towards the end of the year, but you can pre-order that now. And I'll put some links up in the recording of this where you can have access to our books. And then also too, same with the software. This is what software I've created over the last 30 years plus of trading the financial markets. Our software started coming out in 2003. It's been a big hit and is now used in over 80 countries worldwide. And we have charting software, we have scanners and risk control software. And again, I'll put a link up in the recording once I get that set up for today. And also too, it's available on the website. And finally, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Give us a like, and anybody that you know that's interested in the markets, bring them along and have them subscribe. The more people we get here, the more stocks we can look up, and that is good for everybody because that's the more opportunities that can be brought to the table. All right, so let me come out of here and go right to the charts now. I've got GBTC up, and I'll start with that one, I think, first. I'm going to put the data box up on the right-hand side there. And I see the stocks coming in, so I'll jump to those in just a moment. GBTC is an ETF, which is an exchange-traded fund for crypto. What you're looking at, if you're new here, you're looking at my setup on a charting platform called NinjaTrader. Now, our software works on NinjaTrader, TradeStation, multi-charts, MT4 and 5, and eSignal. So all the popular charting platforms and reliable platforms we have programmed our software for. So this is NinjaTrader you're looking at too. Great platform. We love it. We've got 3 charts up here on the bottom. Let me just go over this really quickly. And all 3 charts have our software loaded on it. And this is the 60-minute chart over here. This gives us a short-term look at the market. This is the daily chart here. This gives us an intermediate look at the market. And this is the weekly chart, and this gives us a longer view of the market. So when I look at one stock, in this case it's GBTC, I've spread it over 3 different time frames. And the next question is, well, why do you do that? Well, that's called multiple time frame analysis, and allows me to really take a look at what is going on in this particular stock on a short, intermediate, and a long-term level. And it helps me get an overview of what the analysis is on this stock. Is it bullish, bearish, going sideways? Is there an opportunity for a trade here, and so forth? And then we look at our different indicators and software tools that I've designed on each of these charts, and it kind of gives me a clue of when I should enter and when I should exit much more precisely than if you're using just one chart. So that's why I do it. And then also at the top, I have scanners, and I'm not going to be using those today because we're going to be looking up stocks, but that's how I find stocks when I'm looking for new trades. So that kind of gives you an overview. So let's just get back real quickly and talk a little bit about GBTC here. Again, this is the ETF for crypto. So it went up off its bottom. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Just focus on this. You know, GBTC or Bitcoin went way up, and then it went way down. And we think it bottomed here back in October of last year. So we think that's a major bottom in crypto. Doesn't mean you can't get a test of that bottom. Doesn't mean it can't pull back, which it's doing still now. But that bottom, we feel, should hold. We feel that's a major bottom, and certainly one that you can put your stop on if you want to stay in this for a long-term trade. So we like this long-term. It's pulling back a little bit. We had kind of designated before that it would pull back in between this fib retracement zone, and it's done that. Looks like it's trying to stabilize here, which is usually what happens. Maybe go down a little further, but it's pretty stable here. And we're waiting now for positive momentum to come back in. Positive momentum has not yet come back in. So I wouldn't go long yet on this, but at this particular point, basically our tools are saying we're in a good retracement zone, and the momentum's still bearish, so hang tight a little bit. If you're long, make sure you have your stop at least under one of our trading tools called the pyramid here, and that should keep you in this trade. All right, so that is GBTC. All right, oh boy, I see a lot of stocks, which is great, coming in. All right, so let's take a look here. Let's see where we got to go here. All right. Looks like the first one is going to be the SPDR. Okay, Jim, this is for you. All right. The SPDR, the SPY, is the ETF for the S&P 500. Okay, so it's another ETF. And basically it's climbing off its retracement bottom here. And it looks like, we're not done going up on this baby. All right. The PTF, which is one of our indicators here and has a 75% probability, is calling for a high above this here. So I think we're going at least to 430 short term on this. And it still could go up even higher. So we can look at that again next week. But so far, bullishness. You can see all of our automatic trend lines being drawn on by the TLM software that I developed is keeping us long on this. We have short-term trend lines, long-term trend lines. Pyramids have got us long with a stop right here. So it looks pretty good. All right. So you kind of want to stay with that at this particular point. Now, the only caveat with that is that we never really hit the long-term level here. Let me just open this up. This is a weekly chart. So this is a wave 3 on the weekly chart. So every price bar here represents a full week of activity. So that was the high that occurred on just about all the markets, whether it was NASDAQ or the Dow or the S&P back in 2022, late 2022 as it rolled over. All right. So in this case here, it came down and now it's going up. It's at a point of inflection right now. It could go a little higher. Now, have you heard of a double top? We could get a double top and then a sell off here. So anything is possible. But for right now, you want to stay with the current trend, which is up. The indicators on our software are indicating on this low has a high probability of not being the final low. Likewise, this one too. So that's a little concerning of whether we think we're going to make a new high on the markets. So we kind of got to pay attention to this. Is it possible we could break above here and make one more new high before it sells off? Sure, that's always possible. But that means then we really didn't hit a major correction, that this was a minor correction still inside a wave 3. So that would mean wave 3 is continuing. The higher probability forecast at this time, because certain levels have not been broken, is we are in a bull run inside a bearish overall correction. And that bull run will result in markets getting down into here. So that's kind of the way it's looking now. But we'll see what happens. It depends on how high this bullish run runs. And obviously, unfortunately, we're really not going to know until we either break out the high here or start taking out some of these pyramids at the top here. All right, so that's kind of where we're at now on this. But for now, for sure, it's bullish. So stay with it, okay? It's bullish here. It's bullish on the short-term time frames. So any long stocks you're in, same thing with the NASDAQ. They should be doing really well in this bullish run. I mean, the bullish run's been going on for like 8 months. So it's either going to end pretty soon. It's getting pretty extended, but it hasn't ended yet. So stay with it. Make sure you have your stops in place, okay? All right, Jim, thank you for requesting that. All right, let's take a look at BLDR for OBI. BLDR. See how that one's looking here. Give that a second to load. All right, so we looked at this at one time. It pulled back, and now it's accelerating forward again. And so far, I don't see a top in this yet. Okay, it's still moving up. Long term, this is just tremendous move. Let me just open up the weekly chart. So look at this move on this. All right, that is tremendously bullish. That's a wave 3. And notice our software on the what we call the OWL indicator, which when I say wave 3, by the way, that means Elliott wave. Okay, if you're into that, some people may know what that means, some may not. But that's a wave 3, and the Elliott wave designates 5 waves in a trend. So wave 3 is the middle of that trend. Then after that, you get a pullback called wave 4. Wave 4 can be a pretty big pullback. And then you get another move up and finish the trend with a wave 5. So if we're still in wave 3, all right, the trend's not going to be over until we actually finish wave 5. So keep that in mind. Now, a lot of people, when they see a hyperbolic move like this, all right, you know that you're going to get some profit taking. And that usually starts wave 4. So you got to be aware for that. So you have to make a decision on whether you want to pull money out of wave 3 before it goes into wave 4, or you want to stick it through wave 4 all the way to wave 5. And if that's the case, you got to have your stop pretty low for a wave 4. All right. I think with this hyperbolic move, the smart move here would be to have your stop right here. Okay. And stay with it as long as you can on the daily chart. This is the daily chart, intermediate chart. You've got a green PTF on the 60. So we got one more high probably coming, and that pyramid should keep you in. And then just trail those pyramids up, which is our software that tells us where to get in and out, and you'll be in good shape. You can notice on this particular trade, our first entry was down here, okay? About 60, probably $63, $64. And now we're up to 122 with a stop at 114. So the pyramids did a fantastic job of capturing that trend and trailing stops. And so you have to have a system like that. You know, I always say you have to have the right tools to do well in this business. So if you don't have the right tools, all right, you're going to have a hard time because you're going to be throwing darts at the board, so to speak. You're going to be guessing, and your emotions are going to play tricks on you, and you're going to get out of trades when you really shouldn't, just because of the fact that you get fearful of a pullback all the time. So you don't want to play it like that. You always want to have a structured approach, and this is what our software does. So on this one, Obi, stay with the trade. I would put the stop, all right, on this ledge here. I mean, whether you want to use this pyramid here at 113.36, one tick below, or this one here, a little bit lower at 112.05, you certainly can do that. But for me personally, I would probably get out on the pullback and then get back in later, okay? But that's just the way I do it. Everybody's a little different, okay? All right, so those are two good ones there. All right, so I like this one. In terms of recommending it, I think it's probably too late to get in it because we're really managing the trade now to exit. And then I think once it pulls back, we can look at it again for getting in it. So if you're in it, great. If you're not in it, the trend is too mature. All right, let's take a look at Al's laundry list here. And the first one is COTY. And is that the right symbol? I'm not getting a load on that. COTY. Let me try one of your others. ARHS. Let's see about that one. Huh. Don't see any symbols coming up. Let me just check my connections. Oh, I got to connect. My fault. My bad. I got to connect on that one. All right, give me a second. Just let the data connect, and then we'll be in good shape. So while that's connecting, let me ask a quick question. What do you guys think is going to happen with the interest rates coming up? You think they're going to hold for June, or do you think they're going to raise them 25 basis points? What do you think? I'd love to hear some feedback on that. I kind of think they're going to pass myself. I think they're going to keep them. Mark thinks they're going to raise them. I think they're going to keep them the same. I think they should keep them the same. I don't think they should raise them. They raised them last time, and I didn't think they should do that either. But I think this time they're going to skip it. Jim thinks they're going to skip it. Okay, so probably a skip. I'm leaning to the skip, but you know, we really don't know. All right. Oh, I don't disagree with you, Mark, but I think the Fed is worried about putting the economy in a recession even more. I do think we're in kind of a rolling recession right now. It's not that bad, but I think if they keep raising rates, it could get worse. Also, too, I think they want the banks to stabilize. They don't want any more bank failures. You know, and if they raise the rates, that's going to hurt mortgage business, and then they've got a lot of bonds they got to worry about too. So, being kind of interesting to see. All right, let me take a look. Let me go back here to Al's list here. Okay, so this is ARHS. Al, I'll do COTY now that I got the data tuned up here. Okay, so this is technically still filling in, but I'll get started on this. So on ARHS, we've got a bullish PTF on the weekly chart. So that's good, but we have a bearish owl. Now, what I'm referring to on that is these indicators here. So this is the owl, all right, and then this is the PTF. So that's kind of what I'm referring to when I'm thinking of that. Okay, so you know, that's okay, but we got to make sure the pullback is done because we've had a big pullback here. So notice on the daily chart here, we've got bullish divergence building. So that's a good thing, but we still are in the owl. So that's a good thing. We also took out, it looks like, did we take out that high? Let's just give that a quick check here. So it's still loading. So I don't have any data figures working yet. All right. So that is bullish divergence and it looks pretty good. And we got green here. So I'm kind of liking this. The problem I'm having with this is the history is only a year old. So there's no Elliott wave really of any value on the weekly chart. Yes, the software identified this as an impulsive 3 of some type, went over the top of here. It's the biggest wave in the sequence, but I'd like to see a little more history there. That's my problem with that one. I'm not going to recommend this one right yet, okay, simply because the owl's still red on the daily at this point, and there's just not a lot of history. So I just don't like these that don't have a lot of history. Let's try that COTY again now. We should be able to load that one. All right, here we go on this one. All right, so let's see how much history we got on this one. A lot more, okay? Much easier to kind of gauge things. So this goes back to 2014. Still not a lot for stocks overall. All right, but we kind of get a little bit better picture of the downtrend that ensued. So this got pretty low down here. All right, you're talking right around under $5, about what, $3 or so. So that's pretty low. And then we had a bounce up to where prices are now, right around $11.50. Okay, so you know, if you were able to get in super early, you would have, you know, absolutely doubled, tripled your money almost. So that's not too bad. So what do you do now? Well, good question. All right, I'm not really sure. If you draw a trend line here, you got a uptrend still technically in place. My problem and what makes me unsure is where's the target? Where is this thing going? That's the problem. All right, is this going to be just a retracement trade? And if so, we're almost there. So I'm a little concerned about jumping into a trade when the target possibly could be so close. That's what makes me unsure. All right, on the daily chart, we see a impulsive wave up here, but look at this. You have a larger owl here. So this was the major wave 3, probably a 4. This is 3, 4, 5 of 5. So we're probably when wave 3 just finished inside of wave 5. So you probably got one more high, okay, on this. This is bullish. So you probably got one more high. So maybe we can get a target off the daily, maybe. All right, and if so, let's try that. So this would be a 2, a 3, and a 4. So we're already kind of in the target there. So we may go a little higher in the target. So again, I think we're pretty close there. I wouldn't take the trade now because we're already, from my analysis, close enough to the target that I can't see much profit potential. So it's not only about, you know, whether the trade looks good, it's whether the trade is going to yield enough gain to make it worthwhile based on where you have to put your stop, right? So you have to have an emergency stop exit placed when you take the trade to protect your downside. You know, that adage that says keep your winning trades large and your losing trades small is so correct. So you always want your profit to be in much more excess than your potential loss. And you don't have that here. Okay, so COTD, not a good one. AMTD, let's try that one. All right, we had a couple spikies here. All right, well, this is like a penny stock. It's $1.70. All right, so on this one here, we only have data back to 2020, and then we have these spiky bars here, probably some large trade size is coming in. Probably not much liquidity on this, which is what causes those. So, I mean, you know, is it bottoming and getting ready to go up? It possibly could be. All right. I guess, you know, we certainly are seeing bullish divergence here. So that's a good sign, but it's still red. All right. Let me just see if I zero in on current price activity and do that. So that's kind of, we have no pyramids down there. Let me do the same here. We have one here, but those are minor pyramids, so those really don't count in terms of, you know, if you were to go long on this, you'd have to put your stop. I'd put it either at point A or point B. Okay, you certainly could do that. I'm not going to recommend this one right now, mainly because it's not really, I think, committed yet to the upside. Until we break out of this area, we could fall back into a sideways channel. So you got to be careful. Let's wait until this turns green. When this turns green, chances are what'll turn it green is a push above here. So I would kind of watch this one and see. And if it gets above here and the indicators look good, then you could go ahead and take it. All right. But for right now, I think not. All right. All right. W, let's take a look at his other one, WBD. All right, and Al has our software. He didn't get a chance to look at it yet, so that's why we're looking at it together here. Okay, so let's open up here the weekly chart here and see if it's sensible. Okay, so big pulse up back in 2021 and then a new low currently. So we still have an active bearish pyramid here. All right. So if you were short this, all right, technically your stop would be here. All right. So that's one thing. Also, too, you have a red there. You do show some bullishness still in the market on the 60-minute, which is the chart on the far left. You still have red here. For the most part, I wouldn't take it at this particular point. All right. I think, again, it hasn't proven itself enough to be worthy of a trade to really classify it as a position trade. Okay, 60-minute chart you could possibly get one more quick trade out of that, but it has to retrace now to wave 4 before I take it. So I don't think I would do this one. Okay, XENE. Let's take a look at that one. All right, so this one, I'm going to open up the weekly chart on and take a look. All right, so we go back to 2015 on this bad boy. All right, so currently in an uptrend, okay, without a doubt. We've got an uptrend drawn here, there. And so it's looking pretty decent there. A lot of volatility, all right? So when you have this kind of much volatility, you want to go back 2 pyramids, okay? So your stop would be here. If you wanted it to be tight, you'd be here and you'd be out of this market already. All right, you got bearish divergence. So again, mature trend on the weekly time frame. Doesn't mean you can't get one more high, and it certainly looks like you're going to get that based off the PTF here. But again, you know, here it is. This is saying the high is only going to be here. That's the highest price bar. So your target is what, 44 based on that indicator? So I'm kind of thinking not enough gain here to make it worthwhile. And if anything, it probably is getting ready to end this move up with one more high possibly. And we have bearish divergence here as well on the daily. So it's a little bit mature in the trend. So I think it's getting ready to go into a corrective phase. So I would not do this one. Okay. ARHS. Let's see what that is telling us here today. All right, so we've got limited history on this one. Again, you know, I don't like that when there's not a lot of history to do a complete analysis on the Elliott wave. So what we're forced to do when that occurs is you're forced to really focus on the lower time frames and also the momentum. So what do we got cooking here? Well, 60-minute chart You know, if you want to trade the 60-minute chart, you can, but you're only going to be in that trade for about a week or two at best. So that had you long here. So you could always look at 3 time frames and go with the one that's the clearest. And that certainly was it at the time. This, not so clear, okay? Plus it's red. So, and this is still red. So at this particular point here, and you're kind of late in the trend on the 60, this also is a no good, okay? And that's an ARHS. How about CHKP? See how that one looks like. All right, again, limited history, maybe not. Hold it. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay, good history on this one. All right, let me open that up here. All right, red PTF. So on the next correction, it should go below the COVID low, okay, right there. So this is a lot of history, okay? So we're basically, this is a major wave 3. This was probably overall a 1, a 2, and 3 still underway. So we'll have to see how this breaks down. Again, pretty sloppy market on the weekly chart, and that you can see the volatility. And it's not just now. You know, we've seen a lot of volatility in the last, year or so in the markets. You know, it's been going sideways after the high. This has had pretty much volatility for a long time. All right, so you got to be really strict on where you put your stops on this. And if you're going to trade something like this, you probably should change the optimized setting on the pyramids to a less restrictive nature. So they're a little bit more lenient to allow for the volatility. You can set that, you know. But in any case, not liking that so far, okay? And I'm looking at kind of a messy chart on the lower time frame. So I don't like that one as well. All right, WHD. All right, let's see what we got here. And we'll open that up. History, once again, a little better on this one, 2018. All right, looks like we're in a downtrend at this particular point. Okay, so we took out this bottom here. Pyramid trading point entry was here. Trailing stop has you here. This is the target. Okay, so the target's way down here. So this could be a short trade, all right, with a low of 1816 as your projected target, and prices currently right now are pretty much right around, I would say, 35-ish. Okay, so that's not a bad deal. All right, that's pretty decent profit there. So you got a low here of 11, all right, and 35. So that's a big deal. All right, so that's a nice target zone there. All right, so here's what's going on. This is why I love to use multiple time frame. We are in a downtrend on the weekly chart, and you can see that downtrend also on the daily chart. But recently, like the last, 1, 2, 3, maybe last week and a half, we've been moving up. So we're in a correction in the downtrend, and you can see that here as well. All right, so I wouldn't take the long trade here, but I kind of think what you need to do is draw in some fib retracements to get an idea of where the correction should go. And it looks like we're close to being already there. So maybe a short trade after the bullish correction is over. All right, I wouldn't go long, but I would consider a short trade on this. So let's look at this next week. I wouldn't do it now because the 60-minute chart is still bullish. So we could go higher in between those blue lines, which represent a Fibonacci target zone for a wave 4. Okay, so I would just hold off on that for right now. Okay, I still think we're heading down. All right, so that is WHD. Let's take a look at APTV. All right, let's see what's going on with these. These are kind of messy. All right, so let's see. So we had a straight move down. See, when you have a straight move down like that, that's usually not the completion of a correction. Usually you have like an ABC or something more complex. So then we had the move up there, and then we had one more down. So this pretty much mimics almost the stock market, really. And now we have a move up, and we're coming back up. So it looks like we're kind of in that seesawing pattern. And let's see what the lower time frames. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that one. And again, I'm not crazy about it because where's the target? It's hard, you know. What I like to do is when I look at a stock, I look for clarity and I connect dots. If I can see a clear Elliott wave, that's a dot connected. If I can see a clear, nice entry based on my software tools, that's a dot connected. So I like to connect the dots. And when I see something a little erratic or a little sloppy or a little messy, those dots are not getting connected. So I pass. So I look for something that's really clear. And that's kind of like what you have to do with trading is you got to find that needle in the haystack, which requires you to sort through a lot of stocks. And this is why we rely on our scanners to do that for us, because it keeps us out of this stuff. Okay. All right. So just so those I kind of don't like that one as well either. Okay. All right. Alexander, let's take a look at some of the ones you want to look at here. UPRO. UPRO. And Al, I think if you had time to run the ART software over those, you certainly would have come to the same conclusion. All right, so here's UPRO. And we looked at this before. And what we're doing is we're still moving up into this target zone here. Got a red PTF. All right, so if you took a long position back in here, you want to remain long. We're kind of getting close to the target. So your stop needs to be at this pyramid here, which is roughly 38.87, one tick under. So I think you're probably good for some more highs. The target short term on this is probably 51.25. All right. Now, because your stop needs to be kind of low, your risk to reward is about 1-to-1. So I'm not going to recommend this for new people, but if you're in it, looks okay. All right. If you want to trade the 60-minute on something like this, it's too far gone. Okay, it's taken off too far. All right, let's take a look at Adobe ADBE. Let's see what you got on that bad boy. All right, let's open up that long-term chart here. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. We had a wave 3, and again, here's the clarity. See what I'm talking about? You cannot miss that. That's a wave 3. Looks like an ABC correction's finished here. And now we're moving back up. So that's pretty good. And at this particular point here, okay, looks good. I think you'll probably break this high here. Let's take a look here on Adobe and see where a potential wave 5 could be on an Elliott wave sequence. So we're going to use extensions for that. And I'm going to pick 2, 3, 4. So I'm probably looking at a high right around 702 to 965. Okay, and we're at 458 right now. Okay, so that's pretty good. All right, so you got kind of a pretty good one here. The stop would have to be low enough to allow for a pullback, so around 331. So pretty far away stop. Let's see if the daily chart gives us a better situation. So this is showing bullishness. This is showing bullishness. All right. So, yeah, here's what I would do on this one. All right. I like it for a long trade. I think at this particular point, I would wait for it to pull back. The 60-minute is showing bearish divergence. So you're going to get a pullback. It's at 458, probably to around 410 or so. And that's when I would enter. Okay. So I would just put this on a watch list, hold it until about the pullback on the 60, and then pull the trigger. All right, let's take a look at the gold market. Excellent market to look at. I'm going to open up the weekly chart on gold because we've been bullish on gold for a long time, but it is getting a little near its target. All right, so this was a wave 3, this was a 4, and this is a 5. It hit the target in 2020, all right, and you know, everybody was afraid because of COVID, so they ran into gold and, you know, it took off. All right, and since then it's almost mimicked the kind of volatility we've been seeing in the current stock market in terms of, you know, up and down, up and down. I mean, it's up now, it's up this week, could be down next week. So that's the kind of thing. There's been no real commitment yet in the stock market, though it's starting to, in my case, I'm starting to see more bullishness on the horizon in the stock market than I did, let's say, a couple of weeks ago. So it's looking a little bit more bullish these days. All right, so that's the overall count there. We've got a PTF that would have kept you in the trade because there's a 75% probability that this high, which was in the target zone, was not the final high. Now, think about this. If you did not have this one indicator, which we have called the PTF, when it reached the high, you may have said, okay, that's it, I'm getting out. But we could see, because of that indicator there, those that have it will say, okay, we're going to stay with this, and you may end up back up in here at a higher high. So we're going to keep an eye on that. So that's when that indicator is really helpful, because it tells you at times whether a high or a low is the final high or the final low. And then you can make a decision on how you want to manage the trade based on that information. If we look at the daily chart here, you know, we've got a situation here where we did hit a short-term target. So you may want to pull out profits recently there. Okay, long-term traders would still be in based on the weekly chart, and we're seeing the correction pull back a little bit here right now. So I imagine the correction is pretty close to being over, a little bit lower, and then it should surge forward. So if you're in it, great. I don't think I'd necessarily run in it right now because the 60-minute chart shows the pullback is not quite over. After the pullback, you may want to get in it. All right, so that's gold. All right, ExxonMobil, XOM is our next one. All right, let's open up that weekly chart first. Okay, so no question about it, big run up. Okay, and you know that is a bullish trend for the most part. Now, if you drew a trend line here, short-term trend line here, you know, well, that wouldn't do good. Well, let's do this. Try that again. Again, this ain't going to be perfect, but something like that. All right, so we're probably approaching some type of trend line there. So we kind of keep an eye on it. The stop on this, based on the pyramid trading points, let's look at fractal dynamics in the markets, is 84.84. So $84.84 is where the stop is. We're at 107. So basically, we could get another pyramid form. We've got a bearish owl now coming into the picture. So I would also be careful about watching this level here. If this is broken here, then chances are we're going to do a full-blown fib retracement. So you may even want to put your stop there. All right, so if we kind of go up from here to here, a full-blown fib retracement would stop you out anyway. So what I would do on this one is, based on that information, I'd put my stop here if I wanted to just trade this trend up. Because after that, we could go down to 85 to 64 before it recovers and goes back up. All right, so that's one look at it. If we look at the daily time frame, it kind of confirms that, yes, we are in this correction possibly. It is going lower than this. So I'm kind of thinking you probably are going to want to get out of this. Put your stop right here and you know, get out. The other way you could certainly do this is look at the trend line, and when it breaks the trend line, get out too. But that red PTF and red here tells me Exxon is probably going into a major wave 4. And so you can expect prices down in the 80s at some point. All right, let's take a look at AEHR. AEHR. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Open up the weekly chart. All right, so here's an interesting thing. All right, we have flat markets. You know, flat markets are not necessarily bad. You just don't want to be in them. But you can certainly use them if you see a flat market that's relatively bracketed. Then you can put that on a watch list, and when the market breaks out of the bracket, chances are you'll get a really good trend. And that's what happened here. So the first pyramid trading point entry was here, okay? Stops are then trailed here, here, and here. So your stop would be here right now. These red colored pyramids are called minors, and they're not tradable against a P pyramid, which is the primary pyramid. They are just letting you know of scale out areas, and you're having a trend to the downside called a correction at that time. All right, so prices are at 42 now. Your first entry off this pyramid would have been $8.60, big winner, okay? And you're starting to see bearish divergence here. Now, what's interesting here is this qualified, this is a 3, this is a 4, and this as a 5. And the reason I say that is because this owl histogram hump is not bigger than this one. And that's what keys off to a possible. Now, if that changes, we'll let you know. But we're also starting to see bearish divergence inside this move up here. So probably getting ready at some point to have some more profit taking come into place. Let's see what the daily chart says. All right, daily chart says, looks like it's going higher. Okay, so we've got big owl here, big thing. So you want to stay long on this one. Again, unfortunately, I don't like to get in late in trends, and you're kind of getting in late here. So I kind of won't, I'm not going to probably recommend that to anybody at this point, but if you're in it, great. Okay, you've done well. All right, Bennett, are you with the media that we are out of a bear market? You know, that's a good question. I listened to a guy today that says the bear market's over, okay? And then apparently if you look at the VIX, it's pointing to a bull market as well. I think it's too early to say that. I don't want to say necessarily that that could not happen, because it's anything is possible in the markets. Until the Elliott wave is showing a complex correction right now, the market has to break above certain levels for that to change, and it hasn't done it yet. But we'll keep an eye on it, and if it does it, we'll let you know. So far, we're staying with the fact that we are in a complex correction, and let's see how far, if this continues to break out to the upside, of course, that can change things. But also, too, let's see how far up it goes, and then see about the next move down and see where it goes from there, okay? So I'm not ready to call the bear market as over, like some people are, because the Elliott wave is kind of indicating that it could be a complex correction as well. And, you know, we have not retraced enough on the weekly charts for the wave 4, which is what we'd be talking about in terms of this next big correction, as being over yet, because it was never reached. So we would be either still in wave 3 and have completed a minor wave 4, and wave 3 is not over, or we're in a wave 4 after a major 3 on the weekly chart. And we don't know yet for sure, okay? Not 100% sure yet, because certain price levels have not been yet penetrated enough to give us that kind of insight. So far, because the high of 2022 has not been breached, and the patterns are consistent with a possible complex correction, you have to keep an open mind here, okay? So I'd be a little bit careful on that. All right, let's take a look on ROKU, but an excellent question. And anybody that states anything like, you know, they say something like it's over, or this is over, or that's over, anything stated with some type of certainty like that is really a wrong thing to do in the markets, because the markets, there's nothing certain, okay? Everything is probabilities. So they really should say the probabilities indicate this, that type of thing. All right, because there's just no guarantees in the markets, and things can change. So you have to kind of flow with the markets. So I always like to go with saying the probabilities are this. And if you think about it, it's a mindset, because if you are always thinking about in terms of probabilities, guess what you're going to do? You're always going to use risk control. If you think in certainties, chances are you may not use risk control. All right, so ROKU's done really good now, coming off the bottom. I like it. Couple things, okay? If you look at the weekly chart, let's open that up, all right? So you had a big move up and a big move down. This could only be a 1, and this could only be a 2 at this point, okay? So that's because the retracement was far deeper than any wave 4. So if this is a wave 2, then this is going to take off. If we're still kind of maybe going up here and come back down, then this is a target zone for a short-term trade, which is still phenomenal. So I'm kind of conservative. So if I'm sitting at, what is it, $71.28, if my conservative target zone is 157.34 to 233, with the possibility of going above 500 at some point, that ain't bad. All right, I'll take the short-term target zone and see what the market does. If it keeps going up, fine. If it retraces, I'll get out. So that has got good risk to reward. Couple things. There's no longer an active pyramid. So the short trades on all this were taken out. So those are gone based on our software tools. Had a little bit of green and then a little bit of red, maybe skewing back now to green. This bottom has held. This one came down. It looks like we took out the top recently on this. Let me just take a look at this and see what this high is, just to confirm that possibility. That has 76.62. This is 74.91. So it definitely is a couple points shy of taking out that top. So it could still fall back into a channel here. I'd like it to take this out. Then you can put your stop here. If you go in here, your stop's got to go at the very bottom because it hasn't taken that high out. So it still could be in a corrective mishmash. So you got to be careful with that. So the price is 71.30. The stop would have to go at 40.83. So another thing is you could do with this, when the stops are far away and it cuts your trade size down so much, you can always use an option. Okay, it's going to take a while to get up to that target zone, so you want to make sure you take a long-term option. But an option, if you buy an option with the amount you could comfortably risk anyway, then the most you could lose is the amount you purchase the option for. So it kind of locks in your risk control without having to worry about a stop. Okay, so that's a possibility on these where the prices of the stops are so far away from the current position. All right, so we got bullishness here. We don't yet have a bullish pyramid, a new bullish pyramid here, but you had them before. I'm liking this. Okay, I would say even though this is red here and we haven't taken this off here, I think you could go long on this. All right, and if you want to use an option, that's fine. Otherwise, if you want to make this a little bit in terms of doable for risk size, I guess you could put your stop at 51.62. So ROKU is a buy. Okay, and I like it because all three time frames are showing promise here. Okay, so Al, that's you, and you're long, and I like that being a long. All right, let's keep going. Well, you guys are good. All right, HE, let's take a look for SOFI. All right, so here's SOFI, and we've looked at this one before. And so it is moving off its bottom here. Okay, so what I like about SOFI right now is that it cleared this top this week. Okay, that was a big deal. Now your stock can go under here, under this little pyramid here. So that's a pretty good deal. It's probably heading at least up to here for 11 to 671. The only problem is that the only logical place to put a stop could be this pyramid at $5. I mean, I guess you could draw a fib retracement and put it a couple ticks under there, like $6 or 609 or something, because you're probably going to get a pullback and you don't want to get stopped out. So this would be one I think would be okay to do, actually, because it took out the high. I know we have a red owl here, but it did take out the high. So I would say okay on this one. And I think you're, in order to let's just see, if you put it at roughly $6 and we think it's going to 12, your stop, that is. All right, and prices are at 8, so that's 249. So your risk to reward is not quite there. It would have to go deep into the target zone. So I'm going to put it down as a possibility, all right, for a long trade. My problem, though, is that the risk to reward is not that great, okay? So I'll let you decide how you want to manage that. So it's a go with a caveat. All right. Oh, JBL. OB, let me get that. JBL. All right, give that a second to load. Let's see what we got cooking on this one. I don't think we've looked at this one. Oh, JBL. I put, oh, hold on. Typo. Let's try that again. Do it again. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so no question, bullish move, and it looks bullish on all three time frames. So the only problem is, are we getting in too late? Okay. All right, so we're in a wave 3 now. And once again, this is the kind of the nice thing about using the OWL to help you count the Elliott waves, because this certainly would have appeared to be a 3, 4, 5, right? But the momentum was so high on this leg up, higher than this, that this has to be the 3, okay? So in this case, this would be a minor 4 inside of 3. So we're still in wave 3. We've had so many pyramids in a row. Our general rules is once you have 4 pyramids, you don't go in. So it's a little too late to go in there. And boy, you're screaming up here on the 60. Boy, what a great trade it would have been earlier, especially on the 60. Look at that. You could have taken a short-term trade over the last month and done really well. All right, but you got bearish divergence. It's too late. Too late to get in. Wait for a correction, and then we'll look at it again, okay? And that is for OBI. All right, did I miss anything? Did I miss anybody's stock pick? If I did, feel free to type it in caps again. All right, so the market today is up just a slight bit, around a little over $8. Let's see how the Nasdaq's doing. That's up 57. All right, so kind of a bullish day, but not that much. All right, now let's take a look at CCL. Carnival Corp. All right, let's see what's cooking on this. Al, are you thinking about taking a cruise? All right, so CCL, all right, started moving down basically in the year 2018, and here we are in 2023. We may have, do we have a bottom? All right, I'm liking what I see, okay, for a possible bottom. 3, 4, 5. The question is 5 over? Okay, so let's just take a look at that and see what we got cooking on that. Bullish divergence, no longer a PTF, and we have a green pyramid buy. Good sign. All right, let's take a look at this. Green, green now, everything is green. Okay, so we've got good momentum to the upside. I'm going to open up the daily chart here and just quickly take a glance here and see what's cooking over here. Oh boy, let's see. All right. So I just want to make sure we're kind of out of the bottoming area. Let's see if we've gone above. Yeah, we have. We've gone above here. That's a good sign. Okay. So what I was doing is looking to see if this point was broken. So it was broken here, broken here, broken here. So your stop could go here. Probably on this pyramid would be fine. Okay. At this point, because I think that's even below a fib retracement zone. So that's 9.67 on the stop. Next question is, where is it going? All right. Well, if this is a new trend that's going up, if it's a wave 5 still in progress, it's going to turn down probably pretty soon and head back down. And, you know, honestly, it looks like it probably is, I think, a wave 5 completed. So I'm liking this. Okay. CCL. All right. And my only problem is it's a little bit of a runaway. So again, you could use options. But I think the upside is significantly more than the risk. So if you put your stop, like I said, on the daily chart, if you can put it down to 10.16, you should be okay on that. So you will get a correction off this. All right, look at the 60-minute chart. So you got to make sure your stop is pretty low below that pyramid. So I'm going to put CCL as a buy. The lower you want to put your stop, the better. All right, to stay in during the next pullback. Okay. So that's a buy. All right. Obi, my pleasure. Okay. Al, let's see. You got another one. AOTH. AOTH. And give that a second to load here. Well, you guys are cranking today. All right. So here's the interesting thing. This is one Al we looked at last week, right? So here's it gapped up. And what we did is we drew in the fib retracements. And here they are here. Okay. And we're hitting that fib retracement. So what do? All right. Well, gaps tend to fill quite a few times. So you do have to be careful not to get sucked into the market without it pulling back into the gapped area. So it did that. I think what I would do with this, Al, I think it's looking good. I mean, you got green PTFs across the board here. What I'm thinking here is we don't have a pyramid here yet. You could wait for that. You could also, because this is so bullish and this is coming off a bottom, that if you wanted to trickle in here, you could do it. I would not trickle in if this was still red, but it's not. So you could trickle in here without a doubt. Now, if you want to have a tight stop, put it one tick under here. More lenient stop, put it under here. Okay, that's all possible. You know, and if you get out or get stopped out, it means it's coming down. You can get back in when it reverses because you just don't know how much it will come down then. But that's a possibility. I'm not going to recommend it because I don't have a pyramid on this yet, but it is a good possibility. I think we should look at it next week as well. Okay, so remember that one. All right, that's HOTH. Alexander, MU. Let's see what's cooking with old MU. All right, let's open up this one here. Okay, so we've got a downtrend recently, and now it looks like we've moved up 3, 4, possibly 5. Okay, so let's see what the lower time frames show us here. Okay, so here's the deal. We moved up. We're coming back down, and the 60-minute chart on the far left has a red owl and a red PTF. So I can't put you long on here. It's coming back. Let's see how far it comes back. Let's look at this next week. Let's see if this holds. But let's see if it comes back, and when it turns around, it may be a go then. Okay. We want to make sure that bottom holds. And so let's see how far back it comes. All right. Let's take a look at HOLX. Polygon, I guess. All right, so give that a second to load. All right, this one, quite a bit of volatility in terms of, you know, up and down, up and down. So you got to make sure you have your stop set right. Okay, so we got a little bearish divergence building here. We didn't really have a pullback significantly here. So let's see what the lower time frames are showing here. Let me just see here what we've got. So it's kind of interesting because it has made a new high since its 2021 high recently, but it did it on bearish divergence. See, so that kind of makes me a little bit not so good for a long trade. And it's been, you know, it may be completing its long trade. And so we've got bearishness here, and we've got a downtrend in place here, but a green PTF. So maybe after this move down is done, if this PTF stays green on the 60, then you're going to have a nice little quick long trade. So let's look at this next week. Okay, I wouldn't go in now because you still are sloping down on the shorter time frames. All right, let's keep going. Eleanor, how are you? Oracle. Let's take a look at that one. Okay, so we've looked at this one before, and we expected this to get to the target in there, and it is there. And so it's still very powerful, very powerful. Look at the owl, okay? Now it's exceeded what it was here. So this is still in a wave 3, okay? So no longer a possible top of a wave 3, still going up, okay? So, well, it is possible for a wave 3 top soon, but not quite yet. So this is showing green. Let's go to the lower time frames and see if they're still bullish, if there's any divergence or anything. So we're seeing a little divergence here coming in. Pyramid has you here. This is bullish. But again, probably, yeah, we'll get some type of pullback. The 60-minute here time frame, even if you get a pullback to what, 102, you know, that's in here. So it's looking at this range in here. So that would be just normal profit taking even in an uptrend. So I'm liking this. My only problem with this is we've had a number, we've had 3 pyramids in a row. So, you know, after 4, we don't take any more trades. And after 3, they're kind of a little bit on the risky side. So we may be getting close to a top. We do not have any green PTFs on the lower time frames. I wish we did. Because even though it's green on the weekly, it doesn't mean you can't have a pullback before it resumes to the upside. And so the PTF could be absolutely correct on the weekly, but that doesn't mean you might not have profit taking before it is correct. So in this case here, I'm not going to recommend it. I think it's a little extended. Let's see if it pulls back some, and then maybe if we can get in and have assurance of one more high to some degree, as much assurance as possible anyway. We'll see what happens. But I would say if you're trading this, Eleanor, you got 2 places to put your stops. You can either put it here on the pyramid or here on this pyramid. And if those are taken out, then we may be going into a significant correction. So that pyramid's low is 82.88. So one tick under that, 82.87. And this one here is 97.29. So 97.28. Okay, on that one. Great. All right, Gary, how are you? PH. Take a look at PH. All right, give that a second to load up. All right, I'm going to open up this weekly bad boy here. All right, so basically still in a move up. PTF is saying during the next big correction, we're probably heading below here, but we're still bullish. We got bearish divergence. I don't think I would trade it yet. Trade it now. Might be a little too far along. Let's see what the lower time frames. Yeah, the lower time frames are kind of back and forth. So here's an example of the dots not quite lining up. And so, yeah, you got a bullish trade on the weekly chart with a pyramid trading point here, stopping you out. You would not have taken basically any of these pyramids here because simply you got bearish divergence building in a red PTF. So on the daily. So probably none of those would be taken at that point. But the question is, how much higher is it going to go? That's the question. And, you know, we got a red PTF here too. So let's take a look and see if we can't figure that out a little bit better on the daily chart. So let me just take a look and see what we've got cooking here. So I'll try to isolate this a little bit here on this swing up and see if that kind of gives us a little help. So probably a little bit higher, I think, probably around 375 to 466, and we're at 352. So I would, you know, stay long if you haven't been stopped out. And if you're, you know, longer term situation, you can use this pyramid here. Okay. So that's kind of what I would do with that one. All right. Anything else? Anything else? All right. I think I got them all. All right. So listen, we had a long session today, so I'm just going to go ahead, I guess, and recap, and then we'll end here. What a great session this was. Okay. You guys did great. Oh, Ford. Let's take a look at Ford. The more stocks we look at, all right, the better. because it's more on opportunities we can uncover. You know, it's interesting because, you know, during that last pullback and before we've had this big surge, we had a lot of stocks to the long side. Like last week, we had a ton of them. Now we have a lot less, which probably means we're kind of getting close to some type of top, whether it's major or minor, but we're getting ready probably for some profit taking or pulling back, which is why we're finding less opportunities today. But we still have a few, okay? And I'll share those with you before we go here again. All right, so let's take a look at Ford. Stock symbol F, of course. All right, so Ford, we were expecting, we've looked at this before, we were expecting a pullback. What I love is this pyramid PTF is showing after the pullback is complete, we should get higher highs and take that out. So even if you use that as a target, that's almost what, 25, I guess. Here, I'll be exact on this. Let me just put this over here. And that's 25.87. So 25.87 is the target. We've got a nice bounce off the bottom. No more active pyramids. A slight red situation going on here, but this is good. So if based on this and the fact that we hit the target zone, let's connect the dots. So we hit the target zone. All right. We got a green PTF. That's even, you don't always get that dot. That's a good dot. Great target, great risk to reward, right? So if we go in here, stop is way down here. Look at the profit potential. So those dots are connecting. The only dot that's not connecting, there's two. One, we don't have green and we don't have a bullish pyramid yet. Okay. So those are the only ones. But there's enough dots connected there that if the lower time frame charts look good, all right, we'll probably make it a go. So let's take a look at these. Let's open up this. So we got the pyramid on the lower time frame. We got the green, okay? Ideal entry would have been here, okay? But if we put our stop here, we should survive any pullback. This is bullish, this is bullish. Yeah, we're a little further along, but the profit potential is so great on this that this makes Ford a really good one, okay? So I'm kind of almost liking Ford as one of our best today, all right? So that came from Dan. Thank you, Dan. Okay. All right. Obi, is it UR you want? UR. Let's see what UR is doing. Not sure if this is a symbol you want me to look up, or you're saying something else and say, yeah, I think, okay, I think that was it. I think we were just saying, all right. Your books, please. Okay, so there you are. Okay, so Ford is a really good one. I really like that one. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and wrap it up? Okay, great session once again. You guys and gals are awesome. All right, good job. So I'm just going to recap the ones that I like. ROKU was good. SOFI, CCL, and I like Ford the best. So we had 4 today. Okay, super job, guys. Really good job. All right, so we're going to be back next week. All right, we can, if you have some others, or I told you to bring some back to look next week, please remember to do that, and I'll be glad to look those up and see if they are better at that time than maybe they were today. But let's take a look at those. All right, so thank you so much. All right, Gene keeps saying give us a like, so I guess give us a like. All right, and we'll see you back here next week. Have a good one, everybody, and thanks so much.